because everyone's so focused on making money or being flashy, they forget about wealth. And that's really what it's about. Like I just bought my sixth, and I'm in escrow for my seventh property right now. That to me is wealth, man. Like can you step away and can you show people what you've built, and does what you've built generate money for you, your kids' kids, and all that? That to me is what wealth is, right? Because then if you have that, you have an understanding of money, how to move it, how to invest. And it's not just, oh, I can make money, because a lot of people can make money, dude. I can sell weed here on the street and make money. You get what I'm saying? But it's different for you to take that and do something with it. But you have to understand money, right? You have to be able to budget. You have to be able to understand investments, right? And where to put your income. Because I also know a ton of people who make millions, but they're broke because they spend it all and they don't know what they're doing. But that would be, bro, my definition of wealth.
Welcome to Wealthy Perspectives. What's up, everybody? This is Victor Benlees, where wealth is the dialogue. We are a community unified on a titanic mission to seek, receive, and share wealth, as well as our perspectives, lessons, and legacy on it. Today we have special guest Bryan Casella, BC, hailing to us from Florida. Where are you at in Florida, BC?
I'm in Miami Beach, bro. I can walk outside and the water is like 2 minutes away.
Let's go. Sweet. Oh man, if you don't mind introducing yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, where you do it, why you do it, and your definition of wealth right after.
Of course. So my name is Bryan Casella. I'm originally from LA. My parents moved from Argentina when I was really young to the States. And I grew up there, bounced around a lot when I was a kid, but about age 10, 11, I picked up a basketball and started playing ball. From there, I played in high school. I got a scholarship, played in college. I played professionally for a couple of years. And 3 years into my career, I had a second injury to my left ankle, right? Which I had another surgery. I was out for 6 months. I couldn't walk. And that's when I said, okay, I'm gonna hang up the sneakers, right? That's age 24, right? I'm 35 now. So 11 years ago, I made that decision. For a year, I was kind of couldn't really figure it out, right? I don't know if you guys allow cussing on your podcast, right?
Yeah, send it, bro, please.
Cool. Because I always ask, right? I was basically being a little bitch and I was complaining, right? And being the victim. Then it finally clicked after a year. I said, all right, I got to stop feeling sorry for myself and I got to get my shit together. So that's when I started looking at different career paths. I stumbled across real estate because an old friend of mine, I knew his dad had been in real estate for a long time. I hit him up. He's like, yeah, dude, come by the office. I meet with him. I start taking a look and I'm like, okay, real estate seems like something I can do really well in. I don't know shit about it, right? I'm not well-versed. I've never had a sales job, right? I don't even own a suit, but I can figure it out. And I got in and I just put my nose to the grindstone, decided to learn the old school sales stuff. And I built my business primarily going door to door and doing cold calls, right? I did that for like 3 years nonstop. And then I started growing my team and it's evolved into what I have now, which is I have 14 states now because we're opening in Arizona. I have 14 states covered with my team. I started in LA, right? But we've expanded, right? I'm going to open up an office here in Miami. And we have 35 agents. I have 5 employees and our business is, exploding, bro. And that's not even mentioning everything I've done on social media, right? Almost 200,000 followers on YouTube. My podcast got like 300,000 or 400,000 downloads last year. So we're just exploding, man. Oh yeah. And wealth, you said wealth, right? Wealth.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, man, because everyone's so focused on making money or being flashy, they forget about wealth. And that's really what it's about. Like I just bought my sixth, and I'm in escrow for my seventh property right now. That to me is wealth, man. Like can you step away and can you show people what you've built, and does what you've built generate money for you, your kids' kids, and all that? That to me is what wealth is, right? Because then if you have that, you have an understanding of money, how to move it, how to invest. And it's not just, oh, I can make money, because a lot of people can make money, dude. I can sell weed here on the street and make money. You get what I'm saying? But it's different for you to take that and do something with it. But you have to understand money, right? You have to be able to budget. You have to be able to understand investments, right? And where to put your income. Because I also know a ton of people who make millions, but they're broke because they spend it all and they don't know what they're doing. But that would be, bro, my definition of wealth.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's powerful. I see that there's a foundation to being able to build upwards, and of course, it's got to do monetarily. Here at Wealthy Perspectives, we try to embody a lot of the holistic view of wealth, like
Yep.
body, mind, and spirit.
Mhm.
Like you said, people that make millions, but if they spend it all, that means that there's a disconnect between your real wealth, because you have to be happy with what you're doing.
Right.
Happiness and having a balance of your body, mind, and spirit
Mhm.
is a lot to do with your impact. I also noticed impact in what you mentioned.
100%, man. And that's key. And a lot of people don't look at it that way. Like when I got into real estate, everyone was kind of trying to put everybody in like this tunnel, right? Just study real estate. I'm like, dude, very quickly, I started looking at subjects outside of real estate. Like, finances is one. I was terrible with money when I started. A lot of the money that I made playing ball, and my last couple of years, I was making over 6 figures. I was making good money playing basketball. But I mean, you looked at my bank account when I got back, I didn't have any money or very little because I was doing the dumb shit, going to the club, spending money, doing the young 21-year-old, 22-year-old thing, because people don't get it. Like when you do that, they think, oh, basketball is just in America. Dude, in Europe, they worship athletes. It doesn't matter if you fucking do handball, basketball, volleyball. You walk in the streets, people like run up to you and ask for your autograph. You go to a club, they shut half the club down to put you and your 2 team members there. Like it's a different experience. So you get caught up in that, right? If you're not right up here.
Wait, so I feel like you skipped right over. You played professional basketball in Europe?
In Spain, bro, in España.
Right on. Yeah. Wow. Hailing to you from España and then coming to the US and hopping right into real estate. So you basically mentioned that you started off door to door, cold calls, and just building up from the bottom, from right. Building your foundation, which is critical for the infrastructure that you have now, right? That's 100%. A question on where roots. That leads me to roots, and it has to do with our next question on where do the roots of wealth and your wealth primarily lie? Man.
So when you say roots, do you want me to reference my history or where I think it came from, or some of the foundational things that I built to create it?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe tangible and intangible, like what was very important to you in building your wealth, and what influenced that as well.
Right. I mean, there's a lot I can think of, man. I'm pretty sure your family's just like mine. We're immigrants, right? Like, and very few of us were, if you go back 1, 2, 3 generations already here in America, right? I can't say I even know many people whose, parents and family were already over here, 1, 2, 3 generations ago, right? So when I look at that, like when I look at my family as an example, I can't really see anybody who was like entrepreneurial. The only one I can really say is my dad. But then when I go to visit South America, it's very clear to me right away why there's no entrepreneurs, right? We don't have the opportunity that we have here in the United States. So that becomes clear. But then my dad, right? I find out my dad and my padrino, how do you say that? Godfather, right? Miguel, they were friends back in Argentina, and they actually tried to do stuff like open up a market, right? Have a little coffee shop, and they dabbled a little bit in entrepreneurship. Now, they didn't make it too far because they didn't know what they were doing, but they tried. So maybe that seed was in me from my dad. But growing up, right, not having shit, you look around and you say, I don't want to grow up like this, right? I love my family, right, on both sides. But when you want something and you can't have it, that eats you alive, man. I'm sure you guys can relate to a certain extent, and whatever it is, maybe something major or minor. But when you're a kid and you want like a $2 toy and you can't get it because your parents don't have the money, that shit weighs on you for like 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like you forget about it, but you still, it's like they took a piece of your heart out, right? And I remember growing up and even just listening to the conversations that people were having, I was already questioning it. They're like, oh, we're never going to have money. And I'm like, why not? Right? Just because we start without money, why can't we, make money and learn about it? Oh no, rich people are bad. I'm like, says who? We don't know any rich people, right? So when I would hear that stuff, I was already young, 8, 9, 10, throwing those questions out. And they're like, just shut up, man. Like, stop asking those stupid questions. So I was always maybe a little bit more awakened to a different perspective, or my mind was a little bit more open to, hey, maybe life doesn't have to be this way. Maybe something else is possible, right?
Better, yeah.
So then you fast forward to me in college. When you're on scholarship, sometimes they give you what's called work study. So you have to have a job on campus, right? That's a part of your scholarship terms. You have to hold the job on campus. I remember working at the library and I'm an employee, right? But I'm like, fuck it. Even though I'm an employee, I'm going to do a good job. But everyone else around me isn't. So I run to the manager. I'm like, bro, I'm doing all the fucking work here. Like, so either pay me more or fire them. Like, what's up? You know what I mean? And then I get the mumbo jumbo back and forth, the whole corporate, so right there, another seed was planted. I'm never working for somebody else, right? Because of those rules. But number two, someone else is cutting me a check. So what happens if that person decides to not cut me a check? I'm cut off. Now, if I need a job, I'll do it, but that will always be temporary. It's never going to be permanent, right? I'm going to create my own business, my own brand, whatever it is. Now, at the time, I didn't know what, but already at age 18, 19, I'm like, I'm never working for somebody else. Now, me being 35, man, back in the day, like I even told my parents, if I don't get a basketball scholarship, I'm not going to college. I don't see a reason to. Right. And yeah, this is 2004, 2005. So back then, it wasn't cool to be an entrepreneur and go to college. Now, yeah, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur and be on social media like, oh, yeah, I'm starting my own business. But, 15, 20 years ago, people would look at you and call you crazy if you didn't want to go to college. They're like, well, what are you going to do with your life? Oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. They're like, yeah, you're smoking drugs. You know what I mean? Like they don't understand that. But that seed got planted. So moving forward, once I decided to get into real estate, I took a different mindset to it, right? Immediately, I knew I wasn't good with money. I acknowledged it. So I started educating myself. I read a book called, I don't know if you guys have read it, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. Great book, right? Schooled me a little bit on, the money mindset, right? It introduced me to a basic money management system. I was like, man, this is genius because I've been missing this. I've been running away from this subject because I'm scared of it. But I need to. How old were you
at this age, BC?
So let's see. I got out. Oh yeah, I missed the part, right? I stopped playing ball at 24, 25. Then I ended up staying in Argentina for 18 months, working with one of my uncles, right? I worked with him for 18 months because I knew once I got back to the States, right? Back then, I didn't want to face reality. That was kind of my mindset. So I was like, you know what? Yeah.
That for you.
Yeah, I'm going to stay here and work with him. Not that I'm going to stay permanently, but I'm just going to chill here, right? And I did okay. But after, a year and a half, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here, dude? I got to go back to the States. Like, I'd be stupid to come here. I'm going backwards, right? So then I go back, 25, 26.
What state did you touch down in? Because I know you just moved to Florida, right?
Yeah, I went back to Cali, bro. I've been in Cali my whole life, right? Like, I've traveled a lot because of basketball and stuff, but I've always lived in California, Okay. So this is my first experience, living somewhere like outside of like LA since, forever, right? Besides being in, Argentina for 18 months. But so going back to that, right? All these seeds are planted. I start my business. I read that book. Now I'm like, all right, I need to approach this a little bit differently. So when I was getting cut my first couple of checks, everything was done differently. I already approached it. It wasn't, as an example, a mistake most people make is I'm making money now. First thing, get a new car. I got to get a new car, right? Depreciating asset. I learned that early on. I had made that mistake before. I get a new place for me, right, to live. And I already start putting money aside to get an investment, right? So you fast forward 2 years being into real estate, I buy my first property. So what I did was I went to the tax deed auctions in Houston, right? I met an investor through my real estate coach. He's like, hey, bro, come to this event. You pay me $7,000. I'll teach you how to invest in 3-4 cities in the States with different strategies. I'm like, bet, I'm in, right? I go, I end up buying a property there, right? I buy a property, I rent it out. I make $900 a month off that, right? Within the next 12 to 18 months, I'd end up buying 3 more. And they're in Houston, right? Now, while that's going on, because I'm going door to door, I find a deal in South Central with this dude who wants to sell me a duplex off market, right? I end up getting it for I think it was like half of what market value was because he needed the money. I partner up with dude at my office. Boom, we buy it. Now I'm making just under $2,000 a month from one door on that because of the rents, right? So now I'm 3 years into the game. I'm already cash flowing just under $5,000 every month from that. Now my expenses are really low. So that pretty much pays for everything, right? But I know those are appreciating assets. So I look at all those properties now. If I sell them all and liquidate it, I'm going to have a lot of money. That's 7 figures right there, just with those 5 properties. Easy, liquid cash, right? So moving forward, I always thought real estate, because a lot of people don't know this, man. if you own real estate, you can charge whatever you want for rent. So if our currency changes, right, and we end up trading goats and we go back to a barter system, I can say, all right, bro, 10 goats a month to stay at my house. And that would be any legal tender, right? I can charge that. So to me, because everyone's going to desire a roof over their head and I can charge whatever I want for it, it's a very sound and safe investment. Right now, I have other stuff too, but real estate was always going to be the foundation for me, not just because I knew it and I was in the game, but because long term, right? I was meeting people who owned a home for 20, 30 years. They bought it for 150. They're selling it for 700 grand, 800 grand. I'm like, dude, that's just a gold mine that you sat on. And that's just one. What if you own 10, you know?
That's great. That's phenomenal.
So when you first started out getting into like, I guess, like when you first started your business, what's the one mindset that you feel like has been able to help you accomplish what you've been able to accomplish so far?
I think for anybody, dude, most people who don't come from money, you know what it's like to go to sleep hungry, right? And miss a meal, not be able to get what you want, being told no, right? Being denied for loans and all that other stuff. Like I've gone through all of that, right? And that pain for me, dude, in my heart was so heavy. I was like, you're never going to catch me slacking off or not going after it. Right. So there was two things. One was that, which is that I think Napoleon Hill calls it like a burning desire. Right. If you've read Think and Grow Rich, right. One of the first books I read way back in the day. So when I read that, I was like, okay, I know I have that for damn sure. Now I can't say that for everybody, but I got that shit on lock. Right. If you cut open my chest, like there's a blazing fucking fire here. You know what I mean? Yeah, there we go. Boom. But the other part was I was very observant when I was looking into real estate, and I picked up on things like they told us, hey, the failure rate in real estate is 87% in the first 2 years. So while most people are like, oh shit, like, you know, we're fucked. I'm like, dude, if I last 2 years, I'm already ahead of 90% of the competition. So let me look at the mistakes that they're making. Right. Because I know I'm not going to quit. I can figure this shit out. So I guess I just looked at it from a different mindset than most people. So one was the burning desire. The second one was, okay, this is like a code I need to figure out. Right. Let's figure it out because it can be figured out. The work ethic I know I have, the desire I already have. I just need to do the right things. So then coming in, dude, it was easy for me to get the right coach, do the door-to-door and cold calling, which every successful agent told me to do. They said, the shit's not easy, but you got to do it. If you do it and you do it for a long time, you'll have success. I said, great. I didn't necessarily want to do it, but I said, hey, it's what I got to do. He told me to do it. He's successful. He's successful. He's successful. I'm going to do it. So it was, I would say it was those two things rolled into my head that really allowed me to do it. And, you know, you fast forward a couple months, I think after the first year, I was already in the top 10 in the company. And, you know, I was, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, motherfucker, you've been seeing me every day doing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, you know, it's not like I showed up one day, dun, 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 and I'm number, 8 or whatever. It's like, dude, you've been listening to me make calls. You see when I leave and I go door to door, I've invited you, but you never come. That's what I've been doing. When you're in the office drinking coffee, I'm out knocking on doors. That's the difference. Yeah. Right. But I can't teach that work ethic to people. It's the same thing when I stopped playing basketball and I decided to not train kids. I was like, if the kid comes to me and he doesn't want to be like the best, I'm going to make that kid cry because I'm not going to take it easy on you, bro. You know, if your mommy sent you here just to be here, I don't want to train you, right? Because I'm going to be doing you a disservice because I'm going to push you until you hate me and you're probably going to cry, you know, because like I want that work ethic, dude. Like I want to build that. I want the kid coming to me saying, dude, I want to be, playing with Shaq in 10 years. Okay, cool. Come on in, kid. Right.
You gotta have the will. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Right.
And I noticed that you touch on that point often. Your perception has so much to do with it. As you perceive, what you perceive is what you receive. And you can't teach that. Like you just mentioned, like you can't teach someone to pay attention.
That's to be developed, man. That has to be developed. And when people are ready, it'll click within them. And I think it's different for everybody. Right. And that's another reason I don't like, especially when you start doing stuff online, you get a lot of hate and criticism. Right. I don't take it personal because that different, or like I call it a higher perspective. Right. It's a higher perspective. So, and that's all it is, but that detaches you from your emotions and having those like animalistic responses with people. You get what I'm saying? Because your intellect doesn't reside in the same part of the brain as that that instinct response. It's two different things. That's what makes human beings superior to everybody else, is we have intellect. How else can we, attack and kill the elephant and the lion? Well, we have to outsmart it. Physically, we ain't going to do shit to it, but we have to come up with weapons and tactics and strategies to defeat that physically superior foe, right? But people aren't tapped into that. They're tapped into the animalistic stuff. And it's very easy to see why. You look at the media and everything that's pushed, they make us respond animalistically to everything, right? So people listening, why do you think they always advertise sex and marketing? Yeah, they're talking to that side of you. Yeah, and fear, exactly, 100%. How do you get an animal to attack? Well, shit, make it scared. It'll rip you apart.
I hear you 200%. I hear you 200%. All right, so BC is dropping a lot of gems here, man. Dropping a lot of gems.
I know, I'm going off, bro. I'm going off on these tangents. If you guys need to stop me, just let me know.
I appreciate you dropping some heat. Let's go. Get right to it. I mean, the reason why I got right to it is just for that, because at Wealthy Perspectives, life isn't going to take it easy on you. And we're in a journey of ups and downs. You have to. So one of our main mottos is Amor Fati, right? I got it written back here. Amor Fati translates to love of one's fate. I remember I briefly mentioned this at the meeting where we formally met. So taking ownership of your fate, taking ownership of this thing that belongs to you and it's tied to you, no matter if it's good, if it's bad, understanding that at the very least it's necessary, right? And then another one of our major sayings is Ubuntu, something that ties us all together. I am because you are. I couldn't be who I am if you weren't who you are. And same goes for everyone else. So being able to be who I am and perceive people for who they are helps throughout this journey of life and to wealth. And that leads me to the point of, do you feel like faith has anything to do with it? And what part does faith have to do with success, wealth, and these missions that we're on?
Yeah, man. And what you described is true, because I always tell people this and say, look, you say what you said. Let's say somebody makes the argument of the opposite. Oh no, whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen. You have no control. Just let it flow, right? Like I say, all the dumb shit people say, right?
Yeah, right. All the dumb shit people say out there.
Right? Let's call it what it is, right? Okay. Let's say you're listening to this, or we come across somebody who looks at and listens to your point and listens to the other guys, right? Then they look at me like, shit, what do I do? Those are two options. What do I do? I always tell people, look, whenever you're faced with a situation like that, analyze the information that you're given and then say, okay, if I was to adopt one of these philosophies, which one would serve me better? Which one would serve me more, right? If I had this control to choose, which you do, right? Which automatically tells you that what Victor said is true, right? Because you have a choice. Which one is going to serve me more? I can say, all right, I'm not in control of anything, or I do control things, right? Obviously, the second one of being in control is going to be more beneficial for you, right? Because now you're taking the steering wheel, or it's like you're playing the video game now. It's like, oh, I have the character now. Shit, I'm in control. Now you can do what you want, right? Now,
autopilot, right?
Where I think there's a disconnect is that comes with that great power comes great responsibility, and people aren't willing to accept the consequences that goes with it, right? Versus, me and you guys, it's like, all right, that excites us. We want to do it. It's like, yeah, right. That way, if good or bad, I accept it and take it on the chin. Like, all right, I didn't, live up to my expectation there. Boom. Let's reassess. Let's fix. Let's move forward again and conquer it. Right. I think of it, what you said, in the universal law standpoint, cause and effect. You're either going to be the effect or you're going to be the cause. If I'm the cause point and I'm creating, that's the word, creating. Oh. Now I'm the architect of my own universe. I like that. Because now I can create what I want. It makes me the Leonardo da Vinci of my world.
There's this principle that says we have our center of control, finite point, center of control. Right outside of it, we have our center of influence. The things that if we step into a room, do we feel like we want to influence this room, read the temperature, and so far. And then you have things outside of that center of influence that are out of your control. Right. So just to summarize what you're saying, it's completely true. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that's out of our control. Don't worry about it. You have your center of influence where you can, and you have your center of direct control where you do what you have to do. And once you have that huge, so festina lente is our last proverb. I said, amor fati, ubuntu. Festina lente means make haste slowly. Make haste but take your time, pay attention to what you're making haste to.
Yeah.
That ties directly into, with great power comes great responsibility, right? You already know what comes right after that. And I believe I heard it first when we met, that with the opposite is also true. With great responsibility comes great power. And assuming that responsibility and accountability will really propel you to further heights. And if you have to play a character to get you in that mood, where you have the control of the character, that I thought that was brilliant, by the way, hearing that at the character creation workshop that we met at. And I wanted to ask you, where did that stem from? Like, where do the roots lie of character creation to you, and where did you adopt it from, and where do you see it going?
Well, when you look into that stuff, right? Like, let's say we look at like mythology, right? Every ancient civilization had its rendition of it. You look at people who create like cartoon characters and the Fantastic Four and the Avengers and all this stuff. It's like, dude, when you look at that, right? Whatever that character is, whichever one is your favorite, that at some point was a figment in somebody's imagination that then they conjured it up, they put it to paper, and they created it, right? So that entity was there. If we're going to talk like quantum, right? Quantum physics, right? It was somewhere there and somebody grabbed the idea, right? There we go. Right? But it took the individual to grab that and then make it real for all of us to be like, oh, that's the Hulk. Oh, that's Superman. Oh, that's so-and-so, 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 right? So when I look at that, it's like, okay, that again proves our point that we are in control, right? Because somebody was able to access that and create it. And then they gave the powers that they thought would pertain to that character, right? Same thing with the old gods of mythology, right? Whatever you want to look at, Egyptian, Greek, whatever. Every god had its role too. And people, like a lot of people don't know, for the Egyptian mythology, right? When you look at like Ra and all those other guys, right? Horus, if you really look into it, those weren't necessarily characters that they had created. Those were, that would be a certain kind of essence that they would tap into for whatever they needed, right? And the way they did it was through sound. When they would meditate, they would make certain sounds, right? To access that particular character, which is really cool. So part of it was from that, because when I learned that, I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of similar to what I'm doing, right? I'm not adding in the sound, but I'm kind of conjuring up these images in my mind and looking at pictures and then making it real. Yeah, there's sound involved, but I'm not using purposeful sound like this, because then that incorporates vibration and frequency, right? And that's like next level. So,
yeah, right.
Exactly. And when I read that, I was like, that's genius. So they literally said sound and the proper use of sound is the connection with source, if used properly, because it is frequency and vibration, right? Which is the whole, cosmos, ether, whatever you want to call it.
I got one of these things. I got one of these things.
Got you, homie, right here.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, man.
Wait, so is that what really like controls the vibration?
I got the sage in there too, homie. No, but like as an example, right? When you look at everything vibrates, right? That's one of the universal laws too. Tesla talked about that. Nikola Tesla, and his work has been buried like crazy. But so as an example, right? If you look up, you can find certain videos where they'll have like this machine, right, that vibrates and can create all these vibrations, and they'll literally put it up to things that are material objects, right? And it vibrates at such a frequency that it'll get that material object to start being malleable like that, and it'll start doing waves like that. Like they'll literally put it up to a car, right? And the car will just start doing this.
Oh, right.
And like it's a piece of metal. You're like, that shouldn't do that, right? But that tells you at that particle, like molecular level, that's that. Otherwise, it would just break.
Crazy.
It's crazy, bro. But it's just it's a total mind fuck, because you hear about this stuff and you read about it, but when you see it, you can also find it in the people who have those huge systems in their car, and the bass is just like boom. You'll see literally the whole car, when it hits a certain bass, it'll just start doing that. It's crazy.
Oh man.
Yeah, man.
So, interesting fact. The thump of a whale can actually murder someone. Like when a whale, when you hear the like, if a human is close enough to that, it will literally like stop a person's heartbeat or like liquidate them. That's how it'll blow your eardrums out and turn and like just evaporate you almost. Like,
I believe it, man. That's crazy. I didn't know that. Is it a specific type of whale, or is it?
like the big, like a sperm whale.
Oh yeah, those huge ones. Yeah, yeah,
They're so big that, they have all this power and potency,
yeah.
and the way the air moves, it like bounces off of their skull and like ricochets and goes through a tunnel to spit out. It's fucking crazy.
Wow, that's insane, man.
Yeah. So frequencies, it's like, all right. So something that I always try to touch on is, like I mentioned when we met, is the ether.
Hmm.
The ether is everything, and now we have managed to harness the power of the ether, and we have a supercomputer in our hands at any given moment. We've managed to, send messages through the ether. That's how radio started, and such. So we have conquered the ether, and at the same time, there's more just mental health issues going on. People like not being in tune with who they are, and the Pandora's box is open, basically.
Yeah.
So there's this thing called digital dementia, where people are literally living in their phones. Like their digital media has control over their lives. And a purpose of Wealthy Perspectives is to be able to regain, redefine, undefine, and redefine wealth, and these programs that have been put into people, because we're in an institution. Where we live we're institutionalized. It doesn't have to be a prison to be institutionalized. So we're trying to break people free from that institutionalization of helplessness. And I see that you're doing great works with these topics of I saw you mention the biggest attributes of men. It's so important to redefine what it is to be a man and what it is to be a woman, because there's so much liquidity going on with these definitions. So we're very big on these attributes too, and I just wanted to touch on that. You mentioned the top attributes of a man would be like leading. So deciding and acting immediately, having a protective and defensive manner over what you're involved in as a man, whether it's your business, your family, your partner, your friends. Responsibility, being accountable, taking responsibility, embodiment. So please take us through that.
Absolutely, bro. I mean, we could talk about this subject all day, but the world that we live in, bro, the statement you just made, men and women, like that's offensive in 2021. That's the crazy part, right? That's right. Like I've gotten so many, when I made, a video and did a podcast on, I got so many hate messages and, voicemails and text messages and, emails. I was like, man, what's going on with the world, dude? It's crazy. So I look at, masculinity and being a man. And when I look at it, and I look at like the examples that were given in the majority of cases, right? Like, let's say you look at you're going to look at celebrities in the mainstream, right? You said people live in their phones, which is true, right? If you live in this is creating another form of reality, right? Let's say I get my news from this, and it's only one or two sources. Whatever they feed me, I'm going to believe. Let's say they tell me anybody who you meet outside that has blonde hair is trying to kill you, right? And you believe it. You're literally going to walk around like, oh shit, okay, I need to like drive down this street. Okay, if I see a blonde person, I need to stop. Like it will literally hijack your perception, which we were talking about earlier, and it recreates your reality. You're not in control and you're the effect, which is what we just talked about a little bit ago, right? But it's insane. So, now when I go with like being a man, well, what are the examples that people are looking at? If you really pay attention to the type of stuff that they're pushing right now, it's crazy, right? I'm looking at most, and I can't even use the word, in quotes, I'll say men like that are famous or celebrities. As time goes on, they're literally looking and acting more like women, right? The way they dress, the way they carry themselves, right? The type of stuff that they tweet and post. And I share it all the time. I mean, I'm so censored now on social media. You can't even see my shit anymore, right?
That censorship.
Yeah, because they hate me. But it's like, dude, that's not an example. Like men saying, oh, I don't want to lead, right? It's like, bro, man the fuck up. Like reach in your pants. Do you have balls? Like grab them, dude. You know what I mean? Like find them. Look at any ancient story, right? Of a guy, of a man, right? They were all leaders, right? That's what we do. That's a manifestation of our energy, is leadership, right? If you want to think of it in material form, like a spear, right? We're like a spear, right? Think of the sexual organs too, right? It's the same thing. So we're literally built to lead. If you don't believe me, okay, as an example, get with the woman. And let's say you're in a movie theater, boom, the whole thing almost blows up, fire breaks out. What is the girl going to do? She's going to look at you and be like, what are we going to do? Right? And what is that? That's just human nature. She's going to look at you and you're expected to step the fuck up. Now, in that video, I said, I gladly and willingly take that responsibility, right?
Yes,
We talked
sir.
about great responsibility, great power. Good. I will lead. I'm going to be moving already before she even looks at me, right? I'll probably grab
Come on,
her.
baby,
You know what I mean?
let's go.
Exactly. Right. But again, we do that too. Look at war situations, right? Think about how many times, the helicopter's pulling away and the guy's like, wait. And he goes and he grabs the two other guys that are wounded, right? Responsibility, taking care of the man next to you. That's what we do. Men willingly do that, right? What do we see in the movies? The woman jumps into the helicopter and then cries because her man is over there dying instead of going out and grabbing him, right? Because it's not in their nature to do that. It's in our nature to do that and dodge the bullets, grab the dude, put the two guys over our shoulders and then run to the helicopter, right? If you even look at the manifestation of man physically, we're built for that, to protect. We're the bigger of the two sexes, right? Now, I don't want to hear about that one girl who's 7 feet tall. Okay, that's the exception to the rule. Generally speaking, we're bigger than women. So physically, yeah,
Descended
you
from
know?
Genghis Khan.
So when a woman's like, oh, I can protect myself, I'm like, lady, if I really wanted my way with you and to throw you around, I could. I'm a good man. I'm not going to do that. But if I wanted to physically, I could easily do it.
You see,
And I've ran into situations, bro, where I'm out at night and drunk girls are walking around and they're yelling and screaming at guys. And I'll literally pull them to the side. I'm like, what are you doing? All it takes is one crazy ass dude to throw you in his van and take you and your friends because you're drunk. What are you going to do? So stop mouthing off like you're a guy, like you're literally 4'11", 100 pounds, right? I could just go and you'll fall over. You know what I mean? But like, I'll stop and check girls. Now, the interesting part is if I tell that story to 10 women, 9 will clap for me and say, you're a good man for doing that. It's that one crazy girl who goes on, Twitter wars that will tell me that I'm wrong. You get what I'm saying?
Warrior.
So again, go to, the dating scene. How many women do you know complain that men aren't decisive? They don't pick where they want to go at night. They don't invite them and say, hey, let's do this at this time. Right? They complain about that. That means they expect leadership and decisiveness from a man. Right there. The proof is in the pudding. You see, so all these principles that we discuss and that I've discussed in that video, if you observe, you see them happen in front of you, right? What happens when even that alpha girl who barks, what happens when a real man shows up? She softens up. Why? Because an alpha man showed up and you're supposed to not be alpha and bark at an alpha guy if you're a woman and you're going to be together. It wouldn't work. Right? And so as we get into the human psychology behind this, if you just observe, you see it. And I tell people when you go out, especially at night, now that they're opening stuff back up, I mean, hopefully without the masks, right? Just observe like, men and women interacting and very quickly you can spot, what's going on and you can see it happen, right? Like imagine the girl holding a dude's hand and walking in the front, or the girl's always being the first one to like make the move. That's the stuff that we're supposed to do. That's what the man does, right? And we know this. We know this because we see it, but also intuitively as a man and a woman, these things feel like the right thing to do. If you break it down, like it's like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. It feels like it's coded in your DNA to do this stuff.
So Theodore Roosevelt has a quote, right? And it goes, people don't care as much about what you say until they know how much you care.
Right.
All right. And I'm a person that I personally care a lot. It just shows in how I move and in my intentions. And I noticed that anywhere you go, there are 3 tiers of people, right? There's the bottom tier that are the ones that make us look bad, like the what's the word again, Matt, that we kept saying at Frank's podcast? Cliche, like kind of like a cliche or
right.
Like basically like a cliche, right? So
Stereotype.
Say it again.
Like a stereotype.
Stereotype.
Yeah.
There we go.
The worst part of any group is the stereotype that proves it right. Like, oh shit, there goes a fucking Dominican smoking hookah in his car. There's a fucking Mexican drinking some tequila.
Yeah, right.
Well, like they we have these stereotypes, and some are funny and some are like, all right, that's not cool. And I usually tend to dislike most stereotypes because they work against the mission.
100%.
So
you talked about like just men being like more leaders, right? So
I mean, that was part of it. Yeah. Like what he was referencing is I think I did a YouTube video recently that got a lot of traction where I talked
Okay.
about some qualities that I believe are problems with men today, that they're not embodying these qualities. And one of the main ones was, yeah, like being decisive and being a leader. Right. And then I did some for women too. Right. I did a one
Check that one
where,
out.
yeah.
Check that one out.
what was that one on?
Let's see. I gave. I told women as an example when they're out, especially if they're talked to by men a lot and they're hit on, to like, you know, pump the brakes. What do? They're too nice, right? And they engage in conversations that don't want to engage in. Because I said the way a man thinks, if we go to talk to you and we're interested in you and you entertain the conversation, we're primitive mind, where we're like, oh, we got a shot at this chick if we really want her. If we're trying to, you know, because if we approach a woman randomly, it's because we find her attractive. We don't just approach women just to be like, oh, hello. Like there's some kind of like pulling us in, some kind of attraction, right?
Yep.
So we'll say dumb shit like, oh, nice weather today, right? But like you're really just trying to talk to the fucking girl. Let's call it as it is. However, I told these girls, especially for those of you who are married or in a relationship, you got to be like, nope, right? But be blunt and direct about it. You don't have to like yell at him, but just say, I don't want to talk. And that's fine. But you're not wrong for doing that, right? Because a lot of girls are like, man, guys are always hitting on me and I'm getting stuck in these conversations. I'm like, but you're allowing it, because we're going to go until you say no or stop, because that's the way we are, right?
So, I was having this conversation. There's actually this girl at where I work, and she's got this neighbor that's creeping on her. Like he found her on Facebook, and he's just cut. So I'm going to send her the link to your video. For sure. But this is just facts. Like men, like naturally in our DNA, we feel entitled to women.
Yep.
Because this is just the way that, you know, life worked 100, 200, 300 in ancient times, where, you know, we didn't have as much laws and protections for women than we do now. So it's like when you take into perspective like humanity and how long we've been around and the drastic changes since, you know, discovering fire, humanity changed forever. You know, now you can cook, now you can smoke food, now you can walk around and travel. And then electricity being the other form of fire, like 300 years ago. And cars have only been around for a little over 100 years.
Yeah.
So when you take into perspective all this transformation and then everything that has to be dealt with right now, and that people are at this, so technology is progressing at such a rate and people aren't able to keep up with all this change at the same time. So, you know, at Wealthy Perspectives, we're really trying to emphasize that, make haste slowly. And one of the things that I definitely want to squeeze in here before you know, we're all through is legacy and family planning. I know I briefly pointed this out when we first met. So just to give a little background, you already know a little bit about my story. I'm a life insurance agent, dad, entrepreneur, and Latino advocate for wealth and sustainability and, you know, Ubuntu kind of lifestyle. So legacy and family planning is very important to me, as far as that, putting that message out to men that as a man, you should have a plan for your last name. You know, your legacy matters a lot, and what you want your character and your values to live through after, you know, you're gone, and what you want to leave behind. So I definitely want to touch on legacy and family planning and your perspective on it for yourself and for others.
What's key, man, you know, we want to leave the world in a better place than, you know, we found it and when we started. So I think it goes even beyond like our last name and all that, because I'm obviously working on that. And, you know, everything that I've done with my branding, my whole goal from the beginning was I want the world to know my name, right? Like I want this shit to be etched in the stones, like the hieroglyphics, you know what I mean? Like that was kind of my vision, not just from like a monetary standpoint, but like an impact standpoint, right? But when you look at the other side of that too, it's, you know, by doing that, again, you have a bigger reach and you can push a certain message. And the way things are going now, especially with what's pushed on mainstream media, a lot of it, right? I feel like for us, you know, the whole social media side and the entrepreneurs and the people who have our heads on straight, we can use these platforms and use our legacy to literally change the world, right? I remember even Tupac saying that. He's like, I may not change the world, but maybe I'll create an idea or push an idea that sparks the change for the world. And I really related with that, because I was like, man, that's true, because the person can pass, but the idea lives on forever.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think I made post, I think like a year ago or 2 years ago on Facebook, where I said ideas are bulletproof, right? Like referencing specifically that, because it's true. And I got like 1 million shares, right?
Oh shit.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, I didn't get 1 million, bro. I got like, I think like 3,500 or some shit. But
It blew up. Like for
yeah,
something
yeah.
so simple that ideas are bulletproof. I thought that would have flew over people's heads.
Yeah, it did initially. It didn't start blowing up until later. I think like the right people shared it, and that's when it started exploding, right? But that's what I'm going off of, because then that idea, like look at Tesla or anybody else, right? That person's going to be known for eons. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what it's about, right? That's what it's about. And then also in this world, right? Whether you agree with how we live or not with money, because I mean, it's funny you brought up, institutionalized you are. I mean, look where we're shooting this from. These are just glorified and nice prison cells, bro. That's literally what they are. Look at apartment buildings, look at condominium buildings. They look like prisons, bro. They're just a little nicer, and you can actually come and go whenever you want, right? You don't go on lockdown, right? Well, unless it's coronavirus, then you're locked down, right? We have curfew.
Social norms. Social norms have a lot to do with how we're living. And
yeah, but I mean, all that affects us, bro. That site, our mind, our subconscious mind knows that looks like a prison, right? Cement kills your spirituality, right? Like it deadens energy, right? You look at all the stuff like this gives off a ton of EMF, right? So I have in my place, I have a ton of these little, orgonite things, to transmute a lot of that, the waves, because you also brought up Wi-Fi, right? That was already there. Same thing with radio. All the hertz that you turn it to, you're just tuning into the right frequency to get the signals that are being sent out, right? So that technology was already there. We just finally got access to it. We created a medium in this material world, in this 3D reality, to capture it. That's all it was, right? But for me, man, the whole legacy thing is just, I'm more concerned personally with the impact that I leave, right? And that to me is key. Yeah, you're going to have your haters and the people that don't agree with you. However, your impact, is it like irrefutable evidence that you did good, right? That you changed 10 million people's lives, or 100 million, or whatever you did. Maybe you came up with one new thing, like the person who, I don't know, created the first pool noodle, you know what I mean? Like, and every family loves it, right? Even though that's silly, that dude became a super millionaire, right? But everyone's having fun with those little, pool noodles, right? So, what are you going to do? And who knows what that dude's idea was? Maybe he fulfilled his destiny and he was like, hey, that's what I want to do. I don't know. But that's more where my mind is at. It's not just, oh, I want to make sure my girl and my family are safe. No, I want the world to be affected, right? And when more people, I think, expand their thinking to that, that's what's collectively going to change everything much more, right? Because we can do good for ourselves and that's great. But you reach a point where, yeah, you've done what you want to do. Now that you've fixed yourself and you've handled yourself, you now want to go out and help others, right? A classic reference of that, I think, would be like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yep. I love how you mentioned that, because I'm big on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like not only tying it to like personality tests, but also realizing that your foundation, making sure that you're working on your foundation first. And once you build a sick foundation, you can build upwards towards societal and normal things. So empowerment is a top point that you know, that would be the word that I would put to what you were mentioning. Empowerment, sharing, we can be everything that we are, and we can become the best at what we do. And once we know something for sure and we share it, we learn it twice, right? So it's like we're doing double by being able to share and empower. So I commend you for that, BC. Thank you so much for coming on today. Before we end everything, and Matt probably has a few more questions.
Matt, you look tranced out, bro. He's like,
I go,
man. So it's just.
What were you saying, Matt?
No, man, just a lot of just listening to your story, man. It's a great story, man. So I mean, I'm a real estate agent myself, so I'm trying to get to that point essentially where you're at. I'm in my second year, so I've been just working through that pretty much. It's great to get like a 50-foot view of where you're at in the trends. It makes you think of like, following a certain path. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we're over here talking about energies and frequencies. Oh shit, man. It always ends up going to that, man. Like I'll get an invite to like some real estate podcast and we'll just end up talking like men and women and dating and sex and all that stuff. I'm like, damn, dude, like all these podcasts I do are like 10 minutes of what they wanted, then an hour of everything else. Because I mean, that has to do with what you said, though. It's because I'm sharing more, right? This isn't just stuff that we want to talk about. It's stuff that we study, that we live, and that we experience. So it's like, why wouldn't I talk about that? Because it affects everything to the core. Me, as an example, having a better understanding of men and women, how is that not going to help me in business, right? How is that not going to help me with myself? So when I got into real estate, that kind of opened the door to other subjects as well, which is really cool, right? And I think I made a video on my YouTube yesterday about that, where I was like, man, real estate was like a vehicle that led me to other types of studies and you know, information gathering and seeking, which I hadn't done before. Because going through school, you're conditioned to think that like reading and educating yourself is just boring bullshit. But once you take that into your own hands, you're like, man, you're picking up these books. You're like, man, this is incredible. You know, I would sit down and read and then look up. I'm like, oh shit, it's been an hour and a half already. I've been reading. I'm like already halfway done through this book,
Yeah,
and you don't even realize it. Yeah.
You said, oh, I'm only going to read 20 pages today, and they'll getting halfway through the book. Yo, BC, what's your favorite tattoo, man, that you have?
And I don't know if I have a favorite. It's tough to pick, man.
Yeah, I see you're all yadded up.
Yeah, I'm covered, bro.
Top three.
Let's see. For sure. Let's see the infinity symbol I have right there. I don't know if you can see it.
Ooh,
I like that. Of course, my initials, right? BC right there.
BC, baby.
Kind of tough right there. And then I have I am right there. Right. I'll wrap it up with that.
I am. Tell us.
Two of the most powerful words, because whatever you say after that, you're declaring as true. And what do people do all day to themselves? Man, I'm stupid. I'm not worth shit. And man, I'm so dumb. And what do you do? You're literally conditioning yourself to become that. Because nobody hears that, right? But that's the most powerful programming system on this planet, because everything is being absorbed by your subconscious over and over and over.
Supercomputer.
Yeah, beyond a supercomputer, right? So, but you, Matt, will never be able to hear every single word that someone else is saying to themselves, right? And I always tell people, and you learn this when you go through hypnosis, that your own voice to yourself is the most hypnotic and influential and persuasive voice.
Yeah.
Like period. Right. So what I used to do, and this is for the salespeople, maybe it'll be for you, Matt, when I would practice saying things and scripts and that kind of stuff, I would record it and then I would play it back in my car while I was driving, and I would listen to myself say it over and over. Right. So I'm literally programming myself to have this stuff and just make it a part of me. That's why to this day, I could probably not, do dialogues with people for a long time, and I can just jump right back in and I know it because it's so deeply embedded in me now,
What's been a fundamental part of you expanding your business and reach over the US?
I guess really just saying like, fuck it, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't really know, right? I was like, man, like I said in the beginning, especially to the people that started with me, I was like, we don't know what the fuck we're doing, but let's do it, right? Like we have to figure it out. Because who knows? I could literally sit back and be like, okay, we're not ready to do it yet. And then try to play the whole, like, I'm going to analyze and make this perfect. Like, no, dude, like we have the idea. Let's fucking go and we'll figure it out as we go. Right. Like shoot first, ask questions later. That was kind of my philosophy. And I think that's the biggest thing, bro, because you move forward, but you're not moving forward. It's like you said, it's similar, but I said something yesterday on my lecture with my coaching that was similar, but not in your words. It was, I want to go as fast as possible, but not be rushed. Right. So that's how this was. Now I'm going to move doing this without being scared, and I'm going to move forward. And then when things come up, we'll handle it. Right. Which is the way to do it. Yeah, there was a degree of preparation, of course, but I move forward a lot more free. It's like having a lion who's caged in the zoo versus a lion who's roaming the jungle. It's much different. He's going to move differently.
Different lions. Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Send it. That's what I got. Stop thinking about it so much and just fucking do it. Decide, act, send it, follow up, document, and keep moving forward.
Hell yeah, man. Because at the end of the day, I think social media and like YouTube and all that has kind of been a curse in that sense, as people get caught up just watching videos and studying and not doing anything, but they have this sense that they're actually accomplishing something when they're not. Same thing with the people who comment on my stuff. I'm like, bro, go do it for yourself. I love the support, especially the people that I recognize. I'm like, dude, but you've been saying this shit for years, bro. Like, you should be doing this shit yourself. You've been following me for fucking 5 years, you know?
They get off on it.
Yeah. You know, they live vicariously through you. It's almost like they gave up on life and they feel accomplished when you accomplish stuff. You know, it's almost like a new school reality show, right? Where people are just
like, I think it's because people don't realize that I am statement, that they have control and that confidence to have that control, right?
I mean, that's part of it. Yeah. Cause I tell people, go back and watch my old shit. You know, like when I started, I was very open about where I started and where I was at. And you've literally been seeing me document, like, you know, not everything, but a good chunk of it, like on YouTube and, you know, Facebook and Instagram. So it's not like people can say, oh, well, you know, he just started successful. No, I started with nothing and I built it up. Right. It's just, I was doing the work when you were just waiting for that weekly update. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bryan, BC, yo, this has been real, man. I can't wait to get you back on the pod for real.
Yeah, whenever you want, man. We'll talk some next level shit if you want. Let's talk the fifth dimension, right? Let's talk about aliens. Let's talk about underground bases in the United States. No,
Let's do it. I'm with it. I'm with all of it. So tell people where they can find you and what's up.
Shit, I don't know if you can find me anymore. I'm so fucking censored. You can try my name here, right? Just put it together and then my name. And if I pop up, I'll be surprised now because people literally send me videos every day. Damn, bro, I'm looking you up and I can't find you. It's crazy, man.
I'll tell you what, on Instagram, they just did this thing where they are sensitizing like the information that people get, and you can choose what levels of information you receive. Like, are you real sensitive? Are you okay with
yeah.
And then are you just with whatever? But I think it's like when you're playing a video game and it's like easy, medium, hard. Like hard is actually easy or medium, and then very hard is actually kind of medium-ish hard. So yeah, no, that shit's fucked up, man. But yeah, desensitize the internet and let us just absorb all this great information that BC and all the people just like BC here are putting out. Any final messages, Matt or BC, before we wrap it up?
Get to work.
Right?
Get to work. Yeah, because what do? They'll go to an event like Friday and be like, all right, Monday I'm going to start up. Be like, nah, go home and start now. Why are you going to wait until Monday? You know what I mean? And that was just the biggest thing with me. I would learn something like as an example, right? This will be the parting message. I'll read a book. Let's say the book was a sales book and I got a technique. I would stop, mark the book, close it, make a phone call and use that technique. And then be like, oh shit, okay, I didn't get it right. Okay, let's go back in the book. Like that's how I learned and applied. It'd be like, oh, this is a great idea. Boom, application right away.
Now.
Yeah. Same thing with any book that I've read, little box that says, do this exercise. I wouldn't keep reading. I would do the fucking exercise. Right. And I think a lot of people miss that stuff. And that's why they have trouble with these books and application because they're not actually applying it. They're just reading it for entertainment.
Right on. So as a man, if you feel like there's something that you have to go out there and do, cut this video off, go and do it, leave a comment, like, share, do whatever you have to do, but make sure that you take some notes, go back, review what we mentioned, absorb it again. That's one of the big things that I got from Think and Grow Rich here, that it's like the first time you read this book, you're not really going to get it.
Right.
And then the second time you read it, you're not really even going to get it then. And then the third time you read it, you're going to be like, holy fucking shit. Like, what's up? And that's just based on perception, because I felt like a lot of the things in there I had already like kind of knew, but I just was coming into awareness of it by the manifestation, reading those words. So without further ado, thank you for tuning into Wealthy Perspectives today.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Podcast for wealth, and all holistic things, body, mind, spirit, business, and all great things. Thank you so much for joining us, BC.
All right. Peace, fellas.